I'd like to call to order the Town of Moraga Planning Commission hearing for Tuesday, June 6, 2023. First item on our agenda is roll call. Commissioner Bodie.
Here.
Commissioner Mabel.
Here.
Commissioner Polsky.
Here.
Commissioner Thiel.
Here.
Vice Chair Luster and Lentil are not yet present, and Chairperson Helber is here. Does any planning commissioner have any conflict of interest for any action or any item on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, we'll move down to contact with applicants. Does any planning commissioner have any contact with applicant for item number 6A? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move to Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you all very much. Next item on tonight's agenda is public comments. This time is reserved for those in the audience who wish to address the Planning Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda. There will be public comment periods for each of those items. You should be aware that planning commissioners cannot discuss details nor vote on any non-agendized item. Your concerns may be referred to staff or placed on future agendas. Is there any person who would wish to address the Planning Commission on any item not on tonight's agenda? Seeing none, move down to adoption of the consent agenda. Since we don't have a consent agenda, I'll move to adoption of the meeting agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt the meeting agenda for tonight?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Okay,
Second.
On a motion by Bodie, a second by Polsky. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The motion carries unanimously. We are now on to item number 6, public hearings, and we'll jump right into 6A. Staff, do you have a presentation for us tonight?
Yes, we do. Thank you, Chair and members of the Planning Commission. Hello, Honorable Commissioners, Director. Thank you all. My name is Alistair Fortson, and I'm an Assistant Planner here for the Town of Moraga, and I'll be presenting this application to you today in your role as the Design Review Board for a proposed second-story addition located at 100 Natalie Drive with a 60-square-foot deck that will have a skirt height or height of finished floor above grade, more than 6 feet, and is within 500 feet of and partially visible from the Moraga Road Scenic Corridor. Due to all of these factors together, the applicant therefore needs Planning Commission approval to construct the proposed project. Quickly, I'll go through an overview of the presentation that I have for you today. So first, we'll go through the project details, including the general plan, designation, zoning, municipal plan, municipal code, and CEQA for this project. We'll also go through the site location, the project description, and the site plan. For the second part of the presentation, we'll have a discussion of the compliance with the Moraga Municipal Code, scenic corridors, which includes Moraga Municipal Code section 8.132, and also the findings and conditions for this application. We'll also have a chance for the applicant or other public audience members to comment if they wish. And then finally, the staff will have a recommendation for you as the Planning Commission. So today we're discussing 100 Natalie Drive, which is a 3 DUA residential general planning designation. So 3 DUA residential is 3 dwelling units per acre, and it's also zoned 3 DUA as well. So the relevant Moraga Municipal Code sections today will be MMC section 8.2.030, 8.72.030, and 8.132, which stand for design guidelines and scenic corridors respectively. Finally, the California Environmental Quality Act. This project is categorically exempt under the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, pursuant to section 15301, exemption for small additions to existing facilities of the CEQA guidelines, and as is explained in the staff report and also on the agenda, this project does qualify for that exemption. So here we have a overview of the site location, including a zoomed out view of the project site as well as a closer view. On the left side of the screen, you can see the project site at 100 Natalie, and it's located adjacent to the Camp Lindo High School, which is the large set of buildings on the lower left of that photo. It's also immediately north of an open space area that's zoned 1 DUA and has not been developed at this time. On the right, you can see the existing residence, including the area of proposed additions circled in red. So the existing home site fronts on 2 different roadways because of the way that the front of it curves slightly. So on the left front, it fronts on Camp Lindo Drive, and then on the right, it fronts on Natalie Drive, which slopes steeply upward to the right of the frame. In addition, you can also notice the thick landscaping that's present around the home, as well as the existence of fences and other materials around it. So you can see that this is clearly screened already by existing landscaping and some other materials. In addition, the area that's proposed for the actual addition to the home and also the deck area is on the furthest side away from the scenic corridor, because the scenic corridor of Moraga Road is running at a curve along the left side of that frame. So the area of addition is as far away from that scenic corridor as it's possible to be on that property. Here's a picture of the front of the residence, including the area of proposed addition, which would be on the left side of the frame above the existing garage. The applicant proposes to push the existing roof framing up to meet the existing level and height of the building, and conduct a 254 square foot addition in the area above the existing garage. So it would fill in approximately that open space on the left upper front of the residence, and that's also demonstrated in some of the later drawings that I'll show you. So here we have the project details, including the site plan. I've marked the area of the addition for you in red clouding, and this shows the existing 2-story house, which is 2,256 square feet, and then the area of the proposed 2nd-story addition. So as you can see, this is on the far right side of the home, and as shown before, Camp Lindo and Natalie, and how the house relates to those 2 streets. So the project proposes to construct a new partial 2nd-story addition of 254 square feet to the area above the existing residence to match the area that already is 2 stories on the residence. And it also proposes to create a 60 square foot deck at the southeast or rear corner of the residence with a deck skirt height or height of finished floor above grade greater than 6 feet, which is visible from off-site on Natalie and also from Moraga Road, a scenic corridor. No parts of these additions would encroach on any setback or easement. So here we have a plot of the existing home first floor plan and section. So we can see the area of the den, fireplace, and kitchen. The 2nd-story addition would go immediately above that. And here we also have the section of that area of the home. Here's the 2nd story of that exact same area, including the proposed 2nd floor. So this also includes the area of the proposed addition and the patio, as well as a proposed deck railing example, which is not to scale. Next, we have an existing home front or north elevation with the added area shown on the upper left, as I mentioned when we were looking at the front image of the home itself. And so here we can see how the height of the total addition would match with the existing height of the residence and also would extend out to the left. The total height would remain the same as the existing home at 22 feet, which is well below the allowed 35 feet in single family zoning areas. So these are images as well of the proposed south and east elevation, so how the addition would look from the Natalie Drive side of the house as well as from the rear. So on the left, we can see the south elevation, which shows the area of the proposed deck or patio area, and then also the roof that would be extended out to match the existing roofing material. The siding and materials of the window, framing, and other details would match existing, and all would be located on this side of the home. And this also shows you the relative size of the deck in relation to the rest of the project. So next we can discuss the Moraga Municipal Code and how it fits with this particular project. So design guidelines consideration is the first element to consider thoroughly. So Municipal Code 8.24.030 indicates that All residential development projects must conform with the Town of Moraga design guidelines, including floor area ratio, or be granted an exception. So in this case, the project meets all design guidelines, including the FAR, except for two, which are SFR 210 and 211, which are for decks visible from off-site and with a skirt height above 6 feet. So therefore, this project has been brought to the Planning Commission. So in this case, an exception can be made because the fencing at the rear of the property and existing landscaping serve to screen portions of the proposed deck, and it would be visible only as seen from around the corner of the house, not as seen immediately from the scenic corridor side of the building. Further, as stated, the existing development and open space at the rear and also on the side of the residence serve to screen and soften the effect of the existing homes and will do so with the proposed addition as well. So 8.72.030, Design Review D2. So that indicates that the board, in this case the Planning Commission acting as the Design Review Board, will review applications other than those reviewed by the Design Review Administrator. And that's why it's here today as well. Finally, there's the scenic corridor requirements. And as this property is under 10 acres in size, it falls under 8.132.070. So before a structure or feature is approved, constructed, or installed, before a structure or feature is constructed or installed, the applicant shall submit a plan to the Design Review Board, and the Design Review Board shall review the proposed improvement and shall approve, disapprove, or approve with conditions. So given the development behind the home going up the hillside at Natalie Drive, there's actually no existing natural view behind the corner of the home that is being proposed for the addition. Rather, from the scenic corridor side, when you look past the home, you actually see the existing development going up the hillside of Natalie. And so in this case, the deck and the addition would actually be covering up existing development. It wouldn't be covering a natural view or landscape, which is the natural views and landscapes are what are really protected by that scenic corridor ordinance, and that's what really should be promoted as opposed to natural features. As opposed to man-made features, natural features should be promoted. However, in this case, because the existing features already exist, because the existing features are already present, it's not going to create a further issue on that space. Next, we have some examples as well where this has been conducted in other areas of the town. So one of these is a scenic corridor example, 21 Hammond Place, where the existing landscaping and screening allowed the addition to be allowed because the impact of the new addition was insignificant when compared to existing development in the area. Another is 125 Winchester, which was a variance in deck addition in the rear setback, consistent with the code requirements other than those deck exemptions. So that project was approved and a variance was granted in that case. Another example is 120 Natalie Drive, which is immediately up the street from 100 Natalie. A second-story deck is actually on the front edge of the home above the garage and looks out over the Campo Lindo area. So there are actually other decks in this same neighborhood that have been allowed on the second story and which do have views out over that area. It's not a unique ask here. Finally, 120 Marion Terrace, a second-story deck expansion and addition in the Country Club, was also granted exceptions to these same design review guidelines and further granted a variance in that case. In that case as well, the Planning Commission noted that while, so it definitely was affected by the fact that it was in the Country Club and was in a lot with specific characteristics. However, in that case as well, the deck was added to the second story, and in that case, these conditions were also approved. So in that particular case, the Planning Commission did condition that development so that the applicant would be required to screen the footings. In this case, it's not believed that that would be necessary because the footings will be located behind an existing fence and also in an area with existing landscaping and screening. So finally, the Town of Moraga staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution, which is not yet numbered, approving a design guideline exception to allow a deck skirt more than 6 feet in height as part of a proposed 254 square foot partial second story addition to an existing 2-story single-family residence within 500 feet of and in view of the Moraga Road Scenic Corridor at 100 Natalie Drive, Moraga, California, 94556. APN 256-181002, file number DRB 0523, subject to findings and conditions of approval as indicated on the draft Planning Commission resolution attached hereto. And you've all been provided with an example of that draft resolution. Finally, thank you very much for your time, and do you have any questions about the project proposal?
Alistair, thank you very much for a very detailed presentation. Does any planning commissioner have any questions of staff?
Brenda Luster is present now.
Sorry, I should mention that.
Sorry, I don't know why I thought it was on Zoom. Okay. My question is, have any public comments come in
No, there have not been
from
any
neighbors or
public
nothing?
comments.
Okay.
No.
And the view into the neighbor's house to the project's right side, that's up higher on the hill, isn't it? The grade is a higher.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yes.
so you're not looking down into anybody's house by adding a deck back there?
No.
If anything, you probably still can't see that house, right? Because the trees are so
So a good,
tall and,
true. So a good way to look at it is kind of from this image.
Yep.
You can see that the existing 6-foot-tall fence steeply rises up from the edge of the driveway, and that 6-foot fence that you can see in the background there is actually starting above the level of the fence that exists in the front. So
Yeah, I can
it's a full, at least 12 feet above where the level of that driveway is,
okay,
as seen in that image.
great. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Any other planning commissioner?
I think my only question was if there was any other residences in the neighborhood that had something similar, and so that's been addressed, so, no.
I have one question of staff. If this weren't within a scenic corridor or adjacent to the scenic corridor, would this been potentially administratively approved?
Potentially.
Okay.
The fact that the deck would be visible from Natalie Drive might have made it still come to the Planning Commission Design Review Board based on just the fact that the deck height would be too much. But the scenic corridor portion of it probably would not. If it was not in the scenic corridor, it probably would not have come to the Design Review Board Planning
Oh,
Commission.
thank you. All right, with that, let's move to, make sure I didn't skip anybody. Let's move to the public comment, and we can hear first from the applicant if they so desire, and then anyone else in the audience gets 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. I just wanted to duplicate what you said.
If you could, just for our note taker, come to the podium and state your name and address.
I was just, hello, Jesse Undwin. I'm the person that drew the plans, and I believe he pretty much covered everything. It's fairly invisible from any direction except for the backyard. Since that's open space, at the moment, it's not going to be affecting anyone really, as far as the deck goes. Otherwise, it's just basically duplicating the upstairs, adding another bedroom and bath. So everything's going to pretty much match. Plan shows stucco in the front, but I'm going to match the siding that's there. The other three sides are going to be stucco. It's a fairly small deck and should be pretty good to go, I hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak on this item? Okay, with that, let's close the public comment period and open it up for discussion of planning commissioners and a potential motion.
My only comments would be that this is barely visible from the scenic corridor, and the actual addition is probably not visible from the scenic corridor at all. So that doesn't raise a flag for me at all. It appears that the project also does not affect the neighbor in a negative way. So that's good, and I feel like this is something that, as you noted in your presentation, that is not new to Moraga. It's not some exception that other properties have not been given as well. So I would be in support of moving forward with this resolution.
Thank you.
Just a question for Alistair. What is the setback from the property line to the new addition?
So the setback from the property line to the new addition, as I've measured it, is approximately 24 feet to the existing chimney and approximately 26 feet to the existing side of the home. So it would be about 25 feet to where that deck addition would go.
Okay. And what is the allowable setback?
The allowable setback in the 3PUA would be 10 feet for side setback.
So this is well over setback requirements. I mean, if the property owner wanted to, he could go all the way out to the setback line.
Okay.
Sorry, just for the record, that was 26 feet to the actual edge of the home, 24 feet to the edge of the chimney, and 25 feet to the outer edge of the deck as shown on the screen right now.
All right. Sounds like
Yeah,
there
I was
may
ju-
be a motion brewing.
I was just going to agree with Commissioner Luster, having driven by. You can barely see the house as it is from the corridor, so I have no concerns about the extension or addition of a deck.
Were you going to make a motion?
I make a motion to approve the design guideline exception to allow a deck skirt more than 6 feet in height as part of a proposed 254 square foot partial second-story addition to an existing two-story, single-family residence within 500 feet of and in view of the Moraga Road Scenic Corridor at 100 Natalie Drive.
Motion by Commissioner Maple. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Vice Chair Luster. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. All actions by the Planning Commission are appealable to the Town Council within 10 days. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on to our next item, item number 6B, Capital Improvement Conformance Report from staff.
Good evening, Chair and Planning Commission. I'm Brian Horn, Senior Planner. So the Capital Improvement Program, aka CIP, aims at improving the town's public infrastructure. It is a multi-year planning instrument used as a guide for project prioritization to accomplish community goals. The CIP reflects projects introduced to the Town Council through various means, such as adopted master plans, studies, needed upgrades and repairs of town facilities, and projects necessary to comply with statutory requirements. These include physical improvements, as well as long-range planning efforts for the 5-year CIP period. The CIP was created as part of the biannual budget process. In the past, the proposed CIP would include budget appropriations for 1 year, along with a 4-year forecast of dedicated revenues for specified projects. At their May 10th, 2023 meeting, the Town Council approved converting from an annual budget format to a biannual budget format. The CIP will now determine projects that should be funded for the next 2 years and identify a tentative list of projects to fund 3 to 5 years in the future. The Town Council considers a draft CIP, provides direction to staff on modifications, then adopts a final CIP. Projects are selected for inclusion in the upcoming biannual program based on needs and available resources, with many reflecting a continuation of efforts begun in prior fiscal years. State law requires the Planning Commission to review the CIP for conformance with the general plan. The CIP was evaluated by staff for compliance with the town's general plan as shown in the general plan consistency table in attachment B of the staff report. All the projects have been determined to comply with or further applicable general plan policies. Staff recommends that the Planning Commission find the proposed CIP is consistent with the general plan, provided that future CIP projects continue to consolidate related projects to ensure they are comprehensively planned and designed consistent with general plan policies, and that new development projects may be required to construct, repair, or install improvements identified in the CIP as part of the development review process. And recommend that the Town Council approve the proposed CIP with the above-mentioned notes. The Planning Commission is invited to provide their input on CIP's conformance with the general plan. Additionally, Sean Knapp, the town's Public Works Director, and Adrian Aguilar, Associate Engineer, are here tonight, available for any questions. We will have both the general plan consistency table and capital improvement projects funding resources summary up on the screen for reference for any discussion. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you very much. Any Planning Commissioner have any questions of staff? All right, seeing none, let's jump to the public comment period. Is anyone in the audience? It's not on. I apologize. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address the planning commission on this item tonight? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and open it up for discussion of staff. Does anyone have any comments or questions? I, for one, can say I appreciate staff moving to a 2-year cycle, and obviously a lot of thought has gone into this. Mr. Polsky? Are you ready to make a motion?
I move, are we voting on this? Yes. I move for a vote in the matter of finding the proposed capital improvement program, CIP, is consistent with the Moraga General Plan, provided that A, future CIP projects continue to consolidate related projects to ensure projects are comprehensively planned and designed consistent with general plan policies, and B, new development projects may be required to construct, repair, or install improvements identified in the CIP as part of the development process, review process, and recommend the town council approve the proposed CIP with the above-mentioned notes.
Great, we have a motion by Chair Polsky, by Planning Commissioner Polsky.
Not yet.
You can have it.
Second?
And a second by Vice Chair Luster. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion carries unanimously. We are on to routine and other matters. Seeing none, I will skip ahead to reports. Does any planning commissioner have any reports for tonight? It must be summertime. Does staff have any reports?
Nope, we are still waiting to hear back from HCD on revisions that we have submitted, so we will keep you posted.
All right. I think we're on to item number 9, adjournment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I
Motion
so
to
move.
adjourn.
Oh, I'll second that one.
On a motion by Polsky, because I heard him first, and seconded by Luster. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night.